ChatGPT, OpenAI, ChatGPT, OpenAI. ChatGPT, that has been on the news constantly for 2 months now. And I guess you've heard about it as well. For you that have been living under a rock the last month or so and don't know what it is, it's a chatbot launched by OpenAI in November 2022, so very recently. It's already valued at $29 billion. That went very, very fast. So I've been, of course, thinking about this a lot. However, I have made the assumption that this is not applicable for PLC programming. Of course, I assume that it's probably going to work for Java, for C++, for Python, for any traditional programming language. But I assume that it's not going to work that good for PLCs. And the simple reason is that this bot needs some data input from various sources. And as you know, with PLCs, it's really, really hard to find information on the web as it is. But I thought, today we're gonna have a little bit of fun and we're just gonna play around with this a little bit. So this is gonna be the first time for me, and I thought it would just be fun to record that. So let's just go nuts, buckle up, jump, and ask it some questions. Okay, tiny friend, do you know how to do PLC programming? I am, okay. Yeah, this was an easy question. I guess we'll start easy and get with the tougher questions later. Okay. That's cool. Okay, it starts out good. I like this already. If you have any other questions about PLC programming, yep, sure, I have more questions. For example, can you write me a PID-controller in structured text? Does it have a concept of what structured text is? I'm actually surprised about that it knows that I'm talking about structured text in ISE. Yeah, and it's actually using correct ISE types. Okay, so it's writing a whole program. Not a function block or something, but a whole program that for the PID controller. Okay, this is really interesting. So it runs a while one loop, which basically simulates the task of a PLC, which is of course makes sense here because we can't add stuff like task configuration and task stuff in the code here. But yeah, I assume that this is correct. But for sure the syntax is correct. The only thing is, of course, that it makes some methods here where you get the set point and you get the input, where you read the input, the proportional, blah, blah, blah. This is just an example. You need to adjust the program for the specific PLC. As this example does not include any input and output function or variables, you need to use the input and output functions of your PLC for that. That's amazing, because that's actually different for various PLCs. So this is probably what would make sense the most. Impressive. Let's ask it more questions. Can you, what do we want? Can you help me write a random number generator in structured text? Sure. It starts good. I mean, it answers quite quickly. The problem, when I ask in structured text, that's asking a lot of it, because, the different PLC vendors, they have their different interpretation of structured text. So, there is the standard, but there's always specific libraries and specific versions of structured text. But that's the same here. So it does a program. You have a seed, you have the random number, it returns this as a real, and then the while one, which kind of simulates the task. Yeah, okay, so I guess this generates a random number. I can't quite see where the randomness comes from here, but the syntax looks good, so I'm actually already surprised by that. Let's ask it something less serious. Is Siemens PLC better than Beckhoff PLC? Okay, it's aware of what Siemens and Beckhoff are. It's giving a very politically correct answer. I didn't expect anything else. It's interesting. Siemens PLCs are known for their robustness and reliability, while on the other hand, Beckhoff PLCs on the other hand are known for the flexibility and open architecture. You can interpret that in whatever way you want. And the last sentence here, in summary, both Siemens and Beckhoff PLCs are reliable and high quality. So that's a very nice general answer. It's recommended to consult with the manufacturer or experts in the field. I agree. What can we ask now? What is the difference between a function block and a function? So in traditional programming, you use classes. In PLCs, you use function blocks. So I'm just curious whether it will actually detect this and still talk about PLCs. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I think this is actually quite a good summary of the difference. I would probably say that, the important thing with function blocks is that they can have state, but that's implicitly by saying that, yeah, you can execute it multiple times within a program, maybe. And this is actually not correct. It doesn't have its own local variables. A function can have local variables, but they're not stored between cyclic calls. So the local variables are only used in one call of the function, not between multiple calls. But still, I would say they've hit on the most important points here. Though actually, it says here that functions cannot have their own inputs and outputs, which isn't correct either, because they can in ISC, they can have in structured text, and in ISC you can have inputs and outputs for a function as well. So not sure why it answers it in this way, to be honest. If you have any idea why it answers it in this way, please leave a comment below. Let's be a little more specific and ask it something that I don't think it will be able to ask. Can you write me a function block for a Beckhoff EL1008 terminal? A very common terminal. Sure, okay. It's very optimistic. I like it. Okay, let me think here. It wants the channel. This function block is called EL1008 input. It takes two inputs, channel and input value. The channel input is the channel number of the one. Okay, so it's aware of the different channels, and the input value is the value read from the terminal. Okay, so you provided the channel. Whoops, network error. What happened there? Okay, let's do that again. Regenerate response. No, nothing. Maybe we overloaded it when we asked for a Beckhoff terminal. Maybe we scared it with the Beckhoff digital input terminal. But it looked good. So let's ask it something else. Can you write me a function block in structured text? I don't know whether I need to mention that or not, but it takes a button press. Can you write this? Button press, is that even a correct word? Yeah, let's see. Button press as input and provide a string of whether the button is pressed or not. Or pressed as output. That's what we want. Okay, it's been thinking for like 30 seconds. Error. Crap, do I need to reload the page maybe? Yeah, obviously, I assume that this page is overloaded with people like me. Probably not PLC programmers, but people that are curious of what the purpose of life is and other important questions. So let's just reload this page. Now we're experiencing exceptionally high demand. Yeah, not surprised. Let's try again. Can you write me a function block that takes a button press as input and provides a string, of whether the button is pressed as output. Ah, error. Okay, I've reloaded the page. Let's try it again. In structure text, maybe. Okay, it wrote a function instead of function block. That's fine. The syntax seems to be correct. Okay, I'm not sure this looks very weird. Because, oh, it's just scrolling here. I mean, it gives the base. That's what I would see. I mean, obviously you have to use var input here instead of this. I don't think this syntax, for sure in TwinCAT you can't do it like this. And then it returns both a string here and as okay, it's not a var output, it's just a local variable string. If button, then blah blah blah, and then return button press as output. Yeah, that's correct. Except for this one, which has to be a var input normally. Other than that, it's actually correct. So with very minor modifications, you can actually make this work and compile in TwinCAT or Codices. Even gives a nice tiny description of what the code is doing and an example of how to use it. Though this looks a little weird. End function, and which function? Is this a function? Or yeah, but I mean, I'm honestly really surprised of how good this is. This is much more than I mean, this is magic, you know. Well, apparently it didn't like that I thought it was magic. It crashed again. Well, I had to restart it again, and now it's actually warning me about we're experiencing exceptionally high demand, so I hope they will upgrade their servers. I'm sure they can afford it. Can you write me a piece of code in structured text that sets an output to true 5 seconds after a button has been pressed? My fantasy is really bad today. I'm gonna copy this guy in case I will have to ask it again. Okay, so it is using a timer, a ton there. It's more or less correct. I see two problems with this code. It's using a timer on, which is a good thing. The only thing is that it assumes that the button has to be pressed all the time, because if you press it once and then you remove the press, then it's gonna reset the timer, because button is gonna go low and the timer on will reset. That's the first problem. Secondly, when you use an output from Q, this is not the correct syntax. This is the assignment operator. You would need the one where, yeah, no, the output operator, so to speak. But other than that, it's correct. I'm actually surprised it even gave an answer on this question. Let's ask something even trickier. Can you write me a function block in structured text that transmits a text string over a TCP/IP socket using Beckhoff's TwinCAT 3. Wow, okay, this will be interesting. I don't think anything like TC3 OpenSocket exists. Neither does TC3 SendSocket, but the base structure is correct. It's just that this is obviously not done using TwinCAT 3 or any other PLC that I can think of. The syntax looks very weird, and function block. But I mean, maybe we should see this a little more like pseudocode and not the actual correct syntax that's using the libraries. Because I mean, if you just look at this normally, so yeah, if you go to Google, TF6310, TwinCAT TCP/IP, Infosys, we would normally be doing, you know, these guys, socket connect and FB socket send. That's what you normally do when you want to transmit over sockets using TwinCAT. And you would also need a state machine, right, that governs this. So making the socket connection and then sending the data. But it is still structured text. I mean, you have string 255. Not sure you use this. I think you normally use parentheses instead to set the size of the string. But it confidently says here, please note that this is just an example and you should adjust IP address and port number to match your specific setup. And obviously there are many other changes that would have to be done here. So actually let's take this question and be a little more specific. Let's see if it makes any difference using Beckhoff's TF6310. I doubt it knows what this is. Okay, so more or less the same. Something very weird. I mean, this doesn't exist. TF6310 open socket. But still, it's interesting because it gives me an answer as if it knows what it is doing. But still, I mean, this is correct. You have a, when you use send socket, you normally provide a handle to a socket, which it does, which this does. And you need to provide the address of the byte buffer that you're gonna send, which it does here as well, because text is a byte buffer or a string buffer, and the length of the buffer or the data that you're gonna send. Interesting here enough, it says, please note that the TF6310 is a device from Beckhoff that allows to use Ethernet communication on PLCs, and is not a standard library from, yeah, that's correct actually. So you may need to import the library for using the socket functions. So somehow it knows what it is still. I'm still impressed. Okay, so let's ask it, what's the difference between Beckhoff's TF6310 and TF6311? So TF6310 is the non-real-time TCP/IP communication library, and TF6311 is the one that's connected to the TwinCAT scheduler, so the real-time one. Let's see whether it's gonna guess or whether it will know what it actually is. Well, that's actually not the difference. It's not the difference between the speed. I mean, it is a difference between speed, but not whether it's 100 or megabit or 1000 megabit. Though it is true that with TF6311 you can actually get a higher throughput than with TF6310. However, here it seems to be really confused because it's talking about a built-in switch, like there are actual physical devices, which is not the case. This is software, pure software, both of them. So mounted on a DIN rail, I think ChatGPT is confused. Let's continue. Can I do version control using TwinCAT 3? Yes, you can. Correct, you can. Let's see what it says. TwinCAT 3 supports integration with various control systems such as GID, Subversion, and TFS. Interesting enough, here it talks about the version control integration through the TwinCAT 3 PLC control editor. I guess we can call the XAE this. That works for me. Please note that the integration of TwinCAT 3 with version control systems is not a straightforward process. It requires certain knowledge of version control. Fully agree. I fully agree with this. So I would say it answered our question. It did. So you can do version control. Actually, if you want to know how to do version control, then watch the video here above with full instructions and a course on how you do that. For free. I'm impressed. Can I do TDD with PLCs? What should we do? Yeah. So test-driven development. Okay, it starts with explaining what test-driven development is, which is nice. So if you want to know more about test-driven development and TwinCAT 3, please watch my video up here. I have a video and a course about that. That's for free as well. I think it gave an excellent answer here, because it actually says the problems. It is possible to do TDD with PLCs, but it can be more challenging than with traditional software development due to the inherent real-time nature of PLCs and the fact that PLCs interact with physical equipment. So, okay, that's true, although you can still do TDD with, because the idea with TDD is to test the lowest level of your code, so your functions and your function blocks. There are some frameworks and libraries that enable TDD for PLCs. I haven't looked into these two, but I guess they exist. For TwinCAT, you can use TC Unit if you want to do test-driven development. It's important to note that TDD can be challenging to implement in PLCs due to the nature of the systems, and it may require more effort and specialized knowledge than traditional software development, and that's also true. And also the case that we don't have the tooling that we're used to for doing TDD like we have in the traditional software development world. But overall, I'm impressed by the answer. It answers the question. Let's ask it an even more tricky question. So why don't automation vendors store source code in plain text? That's a very general question. I don't expect anything. Okay, interesting. It has an answer. Amazing. Let's see what it says. No, network error. I wanted to see what it said. I'm gonna ask this question again. Let's copy paste it and reload the page. Let's try ask the question again. Here we go. Okay, so it actually doesn't, I mean, all of this is of course true, but the most important reason is money. They want to make money by locking you in. That's the reason. Okay, let's not get too political here. What are the pros and cons of MQTT versus OPC-UA? I would say you can mix them. They're not mutually exclusive, so to speak. So you can. I even worked in a project where we were using both. It's just I'm really curious whether it knows about these concepts and can give some form of comparison or answer. Let's see what it says. Okay, so it gave a very long and very good answer. So it actually talks about their both communication protocols for industrial automation and Internet of Things. And then it mentions some pros of MQTT: low overhead, efficient, flexible, and some of the cons: limited security and limited data modeling, right? So you have to do your own data modeling for MQTT, while with OPC-UA you get rich data modeling as a contrast. It's secure, it has security built in, and it's interoperable. So, but with higher overhead, so it's of course much more overhead to get all of this stuff and more complex. And this I can assure you, if you ever tried to implement an OPC-UA client or you even use an OPC-UA client library compared to using MQTT, it's like night and day. MQTT is much easier. So, but in summary, it gives this nice summary when MQTT is a good choice and when OPC-UA is a good choice. I would want to add to this that you can actually use even both in some scenarios for different type of data streams. But this was a very good answer. I'm really this feels like magic. You are cool. Okay, it's very humble. I am just a machine learning model, but it thanked me. Okay, it feels a little bit like chatting with a human. Let's ask something more generic. Why do automation vendors charge so much for the development environment? Oh, crash again. Okay, let's copy this question and ask it again. Okay, so automation vendors may charge a high price because it includes a significant amount of research and development cost, as well as costs associated with maintaining and updating the software. A lot of features and that not found in other software products, which can justify a higher price point. Some charge a premium price for them. Some vendors may also charge a premium price for their development environment due to its popularity and wide use in the industry. Yeah, that's for sure. You know, we've been talking structured text here all the time. Let's ask it, can you do a simple program in ladder diagram? Sure. Okay, how it's gonna do? ASCII characters or what is? Oh yeah, seriously, it's using ASCII ASCII characters to draw a ladder diagram. That turns on a light when a push button is pressed. This is just too cool. Oh, how long is it gonna make it? PB, that's the push button. Okay, it's been drawing this for like 1.5 minutes now. I think it's stuck in something. Maybe it got confused by this. Maybe it just wants to say, I don't want to use ladder diagram. And then it just died. No, but I'm curious of this one. I'm gonna ask the same question again, so let's try again. Okay, not sure this is a very useful ladder diagram example, but at least it's aware of what it is. I mean, I asked it for a simple example, so yeah, I mean, that's open for interpretation, obviously. But it's aware of it, and it did something using ASCII characters, and I think that just automatically gives it a 5 out of 5 stars from me. I didn't expect it to know what to do with this question. It even gives some nice general end wording. It's important to note that this is a very simple example, and a ladder diagram can be used for complex control system in industrial applications. So yeah, this is a lot of fun. This is really fun. I didn't think I would have so much fun doing this. Can I make a Beckhoff PLC talk to a Siemens PLC? It gave an excellent answer here, actually. It is possible to do it, but may require additional hardware and software to convert the communication protocols between the two. And Beckhoff uses ETCAT, so it's aware of this, that ETCAT is the de facto standard for Beckhoff, while Siemens uses a variety of protocols such as Profinet, Profibus, and Industrial Ethernet. If they're on the same network, you can use a gateway or bridge device, or just normal TCP/IP as well, of course. And you can convert the different communication protocols from one to the other. So another alternative is going the open way and using OPC-UA. This was a really, really good answer, and it answered my question. Now let's ask something a more soft question. What makes a good automation engineer? This one is, again, an excellent answer, I would say. So it gave a very, very long answer this time. I think it was about to give an even longer answer, but it just stopped. I'm not sure it's finished, but basically it says technical expertise, which is of course the thing we first think about. But then it mentions the problem-solving skills, that automation engineers often need to find creative solutions, and project management skills, absolutely. You know how it is. You have to lead yourself, you have to lead others, and often you get a lot of responsibility. Strong communication skills, absolutely, not just within your team, but with the customer, going out and meeting them. Adaptability, attention to details, safety-oriented, very important aspect of it. Absolutely, working with safety is a critical aspect of automation engineering, I agree. Detail-oriented and strong analytical skills, and strong understanding of industry standards. I guess it took really the most important things. If you have any additions to this, you're of course welcome to add them in the comments below. But overall, I'm really impressed by the answer that it gave me. Now I'm gonna ask a very politically incorrect question, and I assume I will receive many comments about this question here in the comments here on YouTube. Is structured text or ladder diagram the best? Very general question. The best. There can only be one, right? I'm not expecting it to point it to one of them. I would say it gave an answer that most of us would agree with. Maybe not most of us, but I think it gave quite a good answer here, actually. Each has its own advantages and disadvantages, and the best one to use depends on the specific application and preferences of the programmer. That's true. So it just mentions that it's a graphical programming language, easy to understand for people who are familiar with electrical control. Absolutely. It's also simple to troubleshoot and debug if you have that background, yeah. Structured text is a text-based programming language similar to C, or I would say it's more similar to Pascal, but it's not important. It is more versatile than ladder diagrams, and it is more powerful and expressive for, complex blah blah blah. In summary, ladder diagram is commonly used in industrial automation application, and it is easy to understand, troubleshoot, and debug, while structured text is more versatile, powerful, and expressive, and is more suitable for complex automation applications and mathematical operations. Choice depends on the specific application and preferences of the programmer. Yeah, I would agree with everything that's said here, though I would want to add more stuff than this, of course, but a very nice general answer. I actually more expected something like, I'm not gonna answer that because I don't want to get into a politically loaded conversation. But it is just an AI after all, and hopefully it doesn't have any feelings. Okay, I think I'm just gonna ask it one more question, because I have so much fun. I could do this the whole night, but I guess this video is gonna be insanely long, so I'm just gonna ask it one more question and then we're done. Why is it taking Beckhoff so long to release TwinCAT 3.1.4026? That will be my final question. I'm not expecting it to give any answer to this one, to be honest. Okay, yeah. Okay, so even though it's not doesn't know about Beckhoff and TwinCAT so much in this context, it's still aware of that it is a software product, so it could give us a general answer about how complicated it is to do software releases. So it mentions that some of the reasons could be complexity of the update. Absolutely, I think Beckhoff for this release, they're making big changes. So I think the complexity this time is much bigger than any of the other major build releases that Beckhoff have released prior to this one in TwinCAT 3. Quality assurance, absolutely. With this we can all agree on. That's a big problem in not just for Beckhoff, but for any software project. And this time, yeah, Beckhoff may be taking extra time to thoroughly test the update before releasing it. That's good. I think we can all agree on that. Dependencies may depend on other software. Yeah, I guess so. Although in this case, I think it's mostly the internal complexity for doing the changes for the new functionality. Limited resources. Yeah, I guess, I mean, that's true. That's true for almost all software companies. We're never enough developers, or developers are doing the wrong things. Feedback from beta testers. This I don't know. I don't know what the beta tester program is for Beckhoff. I'm not aware of any big one. I think this is mostly an internal thing. And here is a general thing. It's worth noting that development of software products often takes more time than initially planned, and it's common for release dates to slip. Yep, I think that each and one of my viewers can agree with this statement. It's also important to note that Beckhoff is a German company and their release schedule may be different from other companies. Okay, because it's German, it has a different release schedule. Oh, I don't get this one. But okay, it is a German company, that's true. Okay, that's the final question. I've got to say this was a lot of fun. It was a really great experience. I mean, obviously there's a lot of limitations here in the system. It's just impossible for me not to smile about it and be happy about what they've done here and just see the potential possibilities with this system. I've seen some people complain on the web like, oh, this is gonna take our jobs. It's gonna take our jobs as software developers. And after trying this out, I can't quite see this happen anytime soon. I don't see this as something that's gonna take our jobs. The impression I get here I mean, I just used this for half an hour now, but my first impression is that it's gonna extend my capabilities more and make me more efficient. So it's just gonna make me an even better developer. And I see it more like something that I can live with in symbiosis, so to speak. And yeah, I'm hooked. This is really great. Well, that's it for this video. I hope I made you a little curious to try this out yourself. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to give this video a like if you liked it. And yeah, see you in the next video.